Hey, I'm Andy from the Ultimate Trivia Podcast.
The Ultimate Trivia Podcast.
Our show is pretty simple. 5 lifelong friends competing on a single topic to see who gets bragging rights. Each episode, Nick, Scott, Brian, Kelly, and I battle through 10 questions on movies, music, science, history, sports, whatever we decide to throw in the blender for that week. Every episode stands on its own, so you can jump in wherever your curiosity takes you. And we don't just stop at right or wrong. We get into the backstory, the origins, the weird facts, and the stuff that has you saying, how did I not know that already? So download an episode, play along, keep score, and tell us how you do. See if you can beat the crew on the Ultimate Trivia Podcast.
Welcome to Geeks From The Multiverse. We got a brand new episode crawling straight out of hell itself. Today we're talking about the Diablo video game franchise, the loot, the demons, the endless grind for gear that you're just going to end up replacing 5 minutes later, the bosses that turn your character into a red stain on the floor, and the absolute insanity of getting one-shotted by a modded player who just looked in your general direction and somehow deleted your entire bloodline. So hold on to your ears, grab your potions, and try not to anger the butcher, and let's get geeky.
We're Geeks from the Multiverse. We're here to unite all geeks. It's time to get geeky and dive right in. 'Cause we're Geeks from the Multiverse.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? The music is still going, but we're here. Welcome to Geeks from the Multiverse. I am your host, Grumpy Beard, and with me as always,
Captain Mustache. How you doing, everybody? Yes, and today, I will say this, man, real quick, is that Diablo has been one of those franchises that I don't know. I mean, I've been a little back and forth on it. I mean, I will say that, looking down on a character, I mean, I know there are a lot of games that do that. Especially I'm thinking of like the original like GTA, back in the day. Like, I mean, you would look down on the character and you're kind of like
it's very
going
much
around.
like the Gauntlet. Like Gauntlet was a huge game where it's kind of the same setup, but Diablo brought things much newer and fresher.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know with like we'll be talking about it later, but like Diablo 4, for example, like I know you and I have played it, and I mean, like I said, it was a little different for me because like it's not that I'm a big fan of and I will say this, I mean, there are a lot of games that if you don't have good camera angles, I mean, it's really a hit or miss because like I can always think of like God of War was notorious, and I know we've talked about that before, but I mean, yes, like I said, I know it's like a minor thing, but like, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, especially the newer Diablo, it's definitely been, more enhanced, more, you can definitely tell the difference, right? You can definitely see the upgrades and like, the graphics and things like that. And like,
Well, if you compare it to like the first Diablo, I mean,
Sure.
your character was basically like an ant.
like a,
You know,
and you're like, oh, I guess that I don't, maybe I have some cool armor. I have no idea, but no, and I agree. And I know we're going to be jumping into this too, but before we do all that, let's do our little CTA here. So, again, you got to hit that like button, subscribe on YouTube. Of course, we have new episodes every Monday. Again, you can hear us basically on Spotify, Apple, GFTM podcast site, anywhere that basically you can listen to, podcasts in general. So again, check out the merch store, all the episodes, of course, the books that, Matt's already done already, and then basically anything, GFTM related. I mean, you go on the website, I mean, you can look at an episode, you can go to our resource vault, you can, again, I mean, Matt has done a wonderful job on the website, and I mean, you take a look at it, you go, holy shit, that's a lot of information that I don't know if I need or don't need. I'm like, hey, but you know what? Give it to somebody else. Maybe they want to take a look
I mean,
at it, whatever.
everything is there. You just hit us up, geeksfromthemultiverse.com. Every single episode is on, a dedicated podcast page. We have our media page. I mean, I was actually listening to it on the way up here, down here, whatever.
Wherever.
But we have our own GFTM playlist. And if you just love those like Saturday morning cartoon themes or just geeky music in general, like this is the ultimate playlist on Spotify.
Well, and not only that, I mean, there is. So Matt even created an AI album on Spotify, and there's this one song that Matt really used as like the lead single, and it was kind of funny because I showed some people, this one track, and it's basically called GFY. And so if you don't really know, I mean, that's just an inside joke between Matt and I because we've been talking about for years, like, just GFY, Matt, or just like GFM, GF, whatever, just you put the random letter at the end of it, you'll figure it out later.
Is that
but
Google finds you?
maybe?
Maybe.
Does it Google find you? I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess use your imagination. So,
Well, for you, maybe guys find you.
you're
you
so
son of a
funny,
bitch.
I mean, and it's funny because like when you hear the song, it's definitely one of those ones that you go, I don't know, like I can't tell you how many times I've listened to it on Spotify. I mean, it's just a very hype song, just one of those songs that you could really get in the mood for, and you're like, you probably start playing it and you go, is somebody listening to it? Like, and they're like, did it literally just say, go fuck yourself? And you're like,
Yep.
Sure did.
Sure did.
I think one of my favorite lines in that is, if you're playing like Call of Duty, basically, and you snipe me or you shoot me or kill me, and it's like, go fuck yourself. So that was only because every time, yes, if
That's
you're
my
new here,
hatred for getting one shot
Yeah,
by sniper rifles in Call of Duty.
So if you're new here, I mean, Matt and I have been talking about, Call of Duty for so many, feels like years now, but, Matt, I know he has a love-hate relationship, and I don't know if, I know I might be going off a little track here, but have you seen the new trailer for the new Call of Duty game?
I have not. I've seen the Modern Warfare and the weird
That weird
Asian 4 number next to it.
So it's interesting. What they're doing is, basically, it's kind of like ending where 3 ended, and basically, Price is now being targeted, and Ghost, apparently, from looking at this trailer, is like going after Price. So it is interesting, and they have this like one little scene. He's like, Price, like how he talks, and he basically was saying like he's like, you've broken a lot of rules, and he's like, and he literally all you see is Price pulling out a knife, like, and you're like, well, these two are gonna fucking fight each other, aren't they? And I'm like, and I always was curious. I'm like, who would actually win in that fight? Because I mean, Price and Go, I mean, they're shit. Both of them, I would never want to verse either one of them, but to go at each other, I mean, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see like the ultimate matchup. Maybe that's something we talk about down the road. I don't know. But anyways,
who's not going to find out? Me, because I'm not buying the game.
He's like, I'm not buying shit. No, hold on a second. No, hold on a second. He says that just like he said about Black Ops 6. The only thing that he did do is buy the game specifically so we could play as Beavis and Butthead.
I did.
And he did that, and I got so mad at him because he told me for the longest time, he's like, I'm not playing another one, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, this motherfucker. He gets on, and all of a sudden, he's like, oh, hey, man, yeah, I saw those Beavis and Butthead. I'm getting it. And I'm like, you motherfucker. And he started playing it. And I was like, okay. Now you watch them do something stupid, and it's like,
yeah,
it's Transformers or something.
I can't commit to buying a new one. Anyways, I did want to start out because I did see Mandalorian and Grogu the weekend it came out.
Yes,
and I did think it was really good. It just was like one of those fun Star Wars movies. You don't really get a lot of fun Star Wars movies lately,
especially not nowadays.
I enjoyed the action and the humor and that old school kind of adventure feel that the movie had. There were just a couple things that like I was questionable on, and one of them was Rod of the Hutt. If you know who the character is, he was in one of the animated shows. And in the movie, if you have seen the movie, if you haven't, you can see a trailer that he's in. He's very jacked, like Jim Bro swole, like jacked. And I don't know, like I would feel like that's way too over the top, right? Like,
yeah,
I think you can make him look strong without making him look like the Hulk.
Well, when you think about it
Right.
like this, when you look at Jabba the Hutt, okay, that
Well,
son of a bitch was big.
he was big and he was fat.
He was a big fat boy, like and you're looking at this guy, and he's like, and
You can see the fibers in like the muscle, the actual muscle fibers in his pecs, and like the 20 pack abs that he has. Like
Jesus
it's
Christ.
just it's way over the top, and
I mean, I agree with you. I mean,
you can make him strong. You don't have to make him like this weird bulgy bodybuilder like he's going to a competition.
well, I was going to say, let's just Jim Bro. You're going to call him Chad? Like,
You might as well Chad the Hut.
Chad the Hutt, but he's like, huh?
Hey, bro, you got that protein shake?
You got that whey protein, bro? Yeah, totally.
And the other part of it was like he obviously because he's a Hutt speaks Huttese,
Huttese, yes.
but in the movie, primarily like 80% of the movie he's speaking Basic, which is English for Star Wars. It just felt weird. It felt like really weird because he was super polite, like sounding.
Well, and I was going to say, I mean, Jabba literally did not. He was only speaking Huttese. Like
Yes.
there was no.
No, he did not speak. And the twins that are in that movie, we've seen them in the show, so it's
Right.
not like I'm revealing anything. They don't speak Basic either. So they speak maybe a little Basic, but most of the time they're speaking Huttese. It was weird to just see him like, I'm gonna speak English now. Like what?
Wait,
What?
you like just like what was it? Master Chief taking off his. I mean, that's
what?
a sore subject. Sorry, yeah, my bad.
So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but my other thing was Grogu. And I know, like, listen, he's a cute character. He in the movie he has his funny moments, he has meaningful moments. Like him and these other alien like creatures
Yeah.
actually like kind of go on their own adventure to save Din. I'm not gonna say why, but they kind of go off on their own adventure. So like he advanced a little bit as a character, but how long are you going to have this character not say a single word or not ever grow? Like, how long are you going to keep him as a baby? Get it? I get it. He sells a lot of merch because he's cute, because he does this like baby cooing and laughing and these noises. But how long are you going to honestly keep him as a baby?
Well, you're right. I mean, there needs to be progression. There needs to be like when you think about like Groot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he turns into at least a teenager. By the end of like the last film that he's originally in. I mean, of course, he was an adult in the first one, then comes back to like somewhat kind of normal. But you see that progression where I agree. I get it. Where Grogu, sure, you're talking about the fact that Yoda and Grogu are basically part of the same species. And I get it. Yoda's he's an old guy, plain and simple. But you're right. There needs to be some progression of, does he still stay the same? Like, is there facial features that happen? Like, does he actually, like you said, start to talk? Does he, at least learn like dad something like, something to just kind of like show that progression? I mean, I agree with you, but you're right. At this point, I feel like you can't really keep doing this anymore. I feel like Disney
So
definitely missed the opportunity here.
I actually just asked ChatGPT this question. So Grogu is about 50 years old. And we know like that species that he is can live to be like 900 or 1,000 years.
So basically it's like almost not
Um,
even 1 years old in like a human.
physically, what ChatGPT is saying, if it had to pick a single human equivalent age, that Grogu would feel like a 4 or 5 year old child. Now,
I
he
would say
sounds
1.
he sounds like a 1-year-old child, but at 50 years old, if you're saying he should be 4 or 5 years old,
That's bullshit.
he would be talking, he would be walking, he would be bigger. Like, I'm just saying, like,
No, I agree.
he can be like, I understand, like, well, he's an alien race. His species develop at a different.
Look at
It's
Yoda.
it feels like bull. It feels like bullshit to me. It's like I need like a button that just goes bullshit. Like
No, and I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, and like answering this question, like, did, Disney really miss this opportunity by not having Grogu at least speak, even if it was just like a couple words?
he could have said dad. He could have said wake. He could have said home. Like one word would have been like, oh my gosh, he just spoke. It's so cute. Like
Something.
something, but I don't think fans would have hated it. I think
It would have shown, again, it would have shown that progression.
it would have shown him growing and being a real character and not just a mascot. But that's my view of the movie. Like I think it was a really good movie. Like there's a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of nostalgia. I mean, whenever you have Jon Favreau doing a Star Wars movie, you're gonna get that.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, just like he's done in other movies, especially with Marvel. But yeah, I mean, kind of jumping into the Diablo series,
Yes.
talking about, of course, Diablo 1 and 2, the basically how the games, that built the franchise, right? So the birth of Diablo. So yes, when Diablo launched in 1996, of course, Blizzard, most, I wouldn't say the most famous one, but definitely one of the, I don't know if it's still really one of the titans, of like games in general, but I mean, it's definitely a well-known name, right? But anyways, Blizzard created something that felt completely different from most RPGs at the time. So instead of turn-based combat and lengthy dialogue, Diablo threw players directly into dark dungeons filled with demons, monsters, traps, and loot. So I will say this though, the one game I'm thinking of is like um, Final Fantasy, because in the original Final Fantasies from way back when, yes, it was a lot of turn-based. It was a lot of that, that you would see that. So like that,
Right.
that's kind of how I feel like this is kind of showing it. Like, hey, we're gonna get rid of this turn-based crap. Here you go, throw you in. Good luck, basically. And then of course the town of Tristram became one of the most recognizable locations in gaming.
It's even, I mean, the town, because I've been playing 3 a lot, and there's a section of the map where you can see old Tristram, and then there's a new Tristram in 3. I don't remember quite 4 if it was based in this town or not, because I feel like there's different.
Well, the problem is
The map is much bigger.
Oh, Diablo. I mean, I know we only did like a portion of it. I mean, you could play that for years. I feel like you could play it for just like a lot of these games, like
Yeah.
like Elder Scrolls, things like that. You can play it for years because there's so much shit to do.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, like we're talking Diablo, which it's basically if hell came up to earth. Like this is what the game is. Like it's leans heavily into that horror. I mean, you got demons, you got ghosts, you got all kinds of these weird weird creatures.
Oh yeah.
And you're diving into caves and caverns and the cathedral and all these other locations. Some of them just became iconic. Like the cathedral is iconic. It's in all 4 games,
Right.
and when you go into these dungeons or these caves, it's honestly like it's a different experience every time. And you could go in, you can restart the game and you can play as the same character and go into that same dungeon again, and it's just not the same experience. Like that's what I love about this game. It's different. And like when you get to Diablo 2, and I think that like that's where Diablo 2 really is the standard for all of the Diablo games, because I played the crap out of Diablo 2 on the computer.
Wait. Did I hear that correctly?
On the computer.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. What kind of computer was it, man?
I don't,
Was it like a Dell?
it probably was running like Windows 98 or something.
Ooh. He's like, I'm dating myself now. I'm joking. Go ahead.
But no, I mean Diablo 2, like they expanded the world, they expanded upon the classes, they created a better loot system. There was online functionality with Diablo 2, and we're going to get into BattleNet a little bit after. But there was a replayability to Diablo 2 that was just fun. You have these new environments, you have these bosses like the Butcher, and we mentioned the Butcher in the opening. Like he was one of those bosses where you go in, it's almost like Elden Ring, where you, as soon as you go in the door, you're a splat on the floor.
You're like, and you're done.
and I'm done. And you just had to. It was one of the first games that I remember like really having to grind for loot. Like you have to go into every dungeon and every cave and every basement and every little area just so that you could get loot, because you could be playing the game for 10 minutes and then get like this really nice gold loot,
Mhm.
and then the next second it's like all junk. It's like that's just the way the game. And even with 3 it's the same thing, and 4 is the very same thing. Like you could play for 3 hours and be like, what is all this crap I'm getting? Like it's all underpowered and it's not anything I need. And then I'd be like, bro, I just played for 45 minutes and I have like all my gold gear. Like,
And you're like, son of a
son of
bitch.
a bitch. But that's just, it's just the game is massive and it's just different every time. It's really unique in that.
So I like this part right here. So it says Diablo 2 wasn't simply a sequel, for many players. It became the gold standard for action RPGs and remained one of the most influential PC games ever made. So, when I think of games that are very influential in the sense of like a lot of the games that we've talked about in the past, right? So Assassin's Creed, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that we've talked about, like Far Cry, and sure, God of War, and some of the, because they have to have a style or an essence that has really changed, like the gaming kind of community, or like the way you play certain, like looter shooters, so like something that made it like, oh my god, like it was like it's saying like the standard, and and changing all this, and I find that interesting because like, when you think about like, I mean, yes, there are PC players still today, and there's the console players and everything else. But I mean, when you're talking about in 1996, I mean, sure, yeah, there were consoles, but there was no capability online unless you were doing PC.
Right.
And so, I mean, if it's saying that it's the standard and one of the most influential, I mean, I'm thinking of like other games that were, just I feel like as influential in some ways, but of course different, or, like Age of Empire, or, I always liked Age of Mythology, Commander and Conquer General. Like, I'm thinking of all these like different games that really kind of were unique for what they were, and the fact that this is saying like one of the most influential PC games ever made. I mean, it's just telling me that, granted, again, I never played Diablo 2, so I wouldn't know. It's striking to me that this is, one of those games. So basically here, right? So the game dramatically expanded the world, classes, loot system, story, online functionality, replayability, which Matt has already described. But, you know, with this too, right? So one of the expansions, the Lord of Destruction, it added additional content, classes, items in the game's final act, further cementing Diablo 2 as a masterpiece. So it's interesting how, if you think about gaming in general, we didn't have a whole lot of DLCs, especially around this time frame. And even if there were DLCs, technically, it was like almost buying. I'm not saying like buying another game, but you'd still have to buy that portion of it to then like be included and do all that. I mean, it's just like today. I mean, but it's, you don't see too many expansions, especially during this time frame, whether it was like this or
Right.
like World of Warcraft. Like that's another big one that I would think of. The amount of expansions and so many like seasons or whatever the hell they do with it, you'd have to buy into it, because you'd have your base game, and then you'd have to have, we're gonna do another DLC for this, or we're gonna do this and that. And so I'm just saying, like when you look at DLCs nowadays, like sure it's included sometimes, and if you want to buy like $150 worth of shit, just for the game, and then like all the other shit, you're buying the game, which might have been like maybe $20 to $40 if I'm taking a guess, and then sure, maybe you buy the DLC for like $5-10,
Right.
something like that. So totally different in price, but it's just, again, it's interesting how to.
So yeah, I wanted to kind of go into a little bit of the universe of Diablo.
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about classes, but that's fine.
No, I'll get there. Because the original, at least the original Diablo, and even the newer ones, what I was just reading was Diablo 4 is actually set 50 years after Diablo 3, which is kind of interesting to me. But the universe itself of Diablo is divided into these three realms. There's the high heavens, the burning hells, and then the human world of sanctuary. So obviously you can already tell the split of these, like high heavens is heaven and
Right.
burning hells is hell, basically ever since their creation, the angels of the high heavens and the demons of the burning hells have been at war with one another. Sanctuary was created by rebel angels and demons tired of the war, with their first children being dubbed the Nephilim. The descendants of the Nephilim are humanity and become the focal point for both angels and demons who wish to influence them for their own goals due to sharing angelic and demonic heritage. And the main antagonist is Diablo himself. He's the Lord of Terror. He was one of the, I believe, 8 or 9 rulers of hell. But I mean, there's a bunch of, there's Baal, there's a whole bunch of other demons and people that you face in these games. But Diablo officially was 97. Diablo 2 was in 2000. Diablo 3 came out in 2012. And then Diablo 4 was 2023. So
Was it 23? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this is why it's important to know this, right? So, like, the first 2 games came out within a few years of each other. And then you took a massive leap.
From 12 years.
12 years. And then, okay, 11. But again, it's still over a decade to make both 3 and 4.
Yeah.
That says a lot if they're putting a lot of time and effort into a game. Because think about this, right? So when you look at Call of Duty and you look at some of these other ones that come out every single year, that's the problem, is that they're not spending that time. They're not
refining it. They're basically just giving you a few new things and saying, well, here's our core, but we added 1, 2, 3, 4 things in this one that's different.
Right.
But you play the game and it's like,
it almost feels like the
it's
same
the
game.
same fucking game we just played. It's just you added a 4 on it.
Right. Well, no, and that's what I'm saying.
I mean?
Like with this, you're talking a decade, which means all new technology.
And I can tell you, 3, to me, right now I'm playing 3, and I think 3 is much better to me than 4 was. Although 4, you can do different things, and there are different classes. A lot of them are kind of the same. But when you look at 2, and I'm actually looking at Diablo 1 here. There were 3 classes. And I think with Diablo 2, there were closer to 7, 6. But you only had your warrior, who is your fighter, your rogue, which is your ranger kind of character, and then you have your sorcerer, who's the magic character. That's all you had in Diablo. You only had those 3 choices. And when you get to Diablo 2, you have your Amazon, your barbarian, your sorceress, your paladin, a necromancer, who is in all of the future ones, your assassin, and then a druid. So you have all of these characters that, some are, the Amazon is a ranged warrior, specializing in bows, spears, javelins. The Amazon had this lightning fury and multi-shot builds, and barbarian became the warrior class. They were the fighters. You're basically your tank. If you were
right.
you needed that one guy who was I'll just go in and melee the shit out of everybody. Leroy Jenkins.
God.
Your sorceress, that was your basic mage character. Paladin was your holy warrior. They generally use like either the two-handed swords, or you could use like the big, you know,
Like hammer. No, I know what
the,
you
the
mean.
big hammers. And necromancer, those were the ones that like you use basically like skeletons and cursed enemies, raising the dead. Your assassin was very much like traps and shadows, and assassin could be fun.
I mean,
It wasn't like the best. The best is like the necromancer or the sorceress. Like those two were the best as far as like powerhouses.
Druid is interesting enough where, sure, it's saying here, like, could transform into a werewolf or werebear. A werebear?
A werebear.
Instead of a care bear, what? Combined elemental magic with summoned, animal companion. So, I know like Druid, it was in Diablo 4 as well, and like they have like a weird variation of that too. And a lot of these were still in there too. And it's again when we're talking about from like sure Diablo 2 all the way up to Diablo 4. There's I remember, like I said, I really only played the fourth one, but like, you're looking at the graphics alone. Sure. You're probably looking at Diablo 1 and 2 and you're going, ooh. At the day, you're like, oh my God, this is great. And then now, if you were to play those games now and you saw Diablo 4 or even 3 for this matter, you'd go.
I actually, like I said, I still really like 3, to be honest.
No, I know, but like, I'm just mentioning graphics alone. You probably go, why the fuck did I think this was some good graphics back in the day? Because you were like, man, this is great. This is what it should look like. And then you're like, you go to Diablo 4 and you're going, holy shit, what the hell have we been missing?
Well, I do feel like a little bit of 4 has become kind of what like the Elder Scrolls Online is. Like you could run around aimlessly for hours and not do a single mission because you're fucking lost. And that's like my problem with 4.
Oh no, when you and I were playing a little bit, we were definitely fucking lost.
Yeah,
That was the issue.
It's because like we're trying to figure out like where the missions are, and it's like you just can't figure it out. And that's where I think 3 excels in this, because you do have a free roam ability to roam around and do what you want, but the missions are pretty clear of what you are supposed to do.
4's like, hey, we're gonna go back to the old ways.
Yeah.
Figure it the fuck out, and you're like, that's cool.
So let's talk about some bosses, shall we?
Sure.
Because the very first one, and I mentioned him already, the Butcher. He is just one of the most infamous ones, and I think these are all from like they're probably in multiples like Diablo and Baal and Mephisto. Like a lot of these are in other games. Like the Butcher is still in 3. You still encounter him. But when you walked in this hidden door in Diablo 1, he had this line was like, fresh meat. Like he said it every time. And he was just so hard to beat. He was like one of the almost very first ones that you face. And he just was so hard, like ridiculous.
And you'd go, why the fuck did you want me to verse this guy right now, you piece of shit? I only have this fucking bronze sword right now. Fuck you. Like, what is this?
Yeah. Andriel, the Maiden of Anguish. She is the final boss in Diablo 2. Poison attacks, relentless aggression made her a major early challenge.
Mm.
So if you think like the final boss in Act 1, and I think Diablo has like 5 acts in it. At least the third one has 5 acts in it. You need to pass her to get to the rest of the game. And yeah,
like, this son of a bitch. Yeah, and and it's funny because I feel like a lot of these game developers, they're always like, we want it to be challenging, but we also, I feel like with Diablo, it's more like, oh no, we're gonna fuck them over.
And the only thing that makes a difference is whatever loot you have. And so before you like go into these bosses, like this is where I think like you have that gold standard where Diablo 2 created, because these were really the first kind of games where you literally just had to loot as much as possible to get the gear that you needed and to level up. Because if you didn't, you would face any of these guys and be like, Yeah, I'm not even like I'm hitting you and your bar's not even going down.
Yeah, and you're like, you know what? I don't know what.
And
the
then they
fuck I'm
hit
doing."
you and you're just a puddle on the floor.
and you go,
Yep.
well, I just spent, I just wasted the last 3 weeks of my life trying to figure this shit
And
out.
if you're playing online like Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, I don't know if Diablo 3 did the ears. I don't think the ears were the ears were really Diablo 2, but you would drop them when you died. Your ears would fall off your body.
Oh, that's lovely. I didn't.
And you would
actually did not
drop
know that.
you literally would drop all of your gear and you had to go back and you had to go get your gear if it was still on the ground. Like, yeah, it sucked. Anyways, more bosses. Duriel, the Lord of Pain, often considered one of the most difficult bosses in the game. To be honest, Diablo wasn't that tough by the time you face Diablo. Players enter a tiny room only to immediately get charged and frozen.
And you go,
There you go. Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred, one of the most farm bosses in gaming history because he gave the best loot. There you go. Mephisto had the best loot in the game. Diablo, he was the Lord of Terror. He's the face of the franchise. So when you see that weird demon with the horns for the Diablo logo, that's him. He has devastating attacks, and if you're unprepared, he will kill you. But by the time you face him, like your loot's usually pretty good, and you have a pretty good grasp of the game.
you would hope.
Baal is the final boss of the Lord of Destruction because he is the Lord of Destruction in the game. He is famous for cloning himself and just became like that boss that you also farm because you could just do countless runs of just Baal.
Oh, I was just going to say this. So you're saying he's like the emperor?
He could be, yeah.
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I feel like, in a lot of games, especially nowadays, I mean, sure, like, when we're talking about like, like loot running or, looter shooters, that kind of thing. I mean, it's interesting that, we were talking about a game that was in like the early 2000s. And I mean, I'm not saying that there weren't many games that did the whole loot hunting and all those things that we definitely know nowadays, but I feel like with Diablo 2, right? I'm not saying maybe it was the gold standard, maybe it was like that perfection that
It was really all. I mean, I think since 2, moving to 3, moving to 4, I have 3 different games going on with Diablo 3 because I'm trying to like play as different characters to see like what their play style is and everything. But like all 3 games, I have found different gear in different places. And that's like the most interesting thing is that I think games that came out around that time, if you went into a certain dungeon, you would find the same gear.
right.
And this game, if you and I had played this game simultaneously, we started it, we played it for an hour, and we did this over a course of a month, you would have entirely different gear than I would have, even if we played as the same character, the same time, the same game. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, the randomness of the game, like where you're not expected to get that gear at every single spot. Like, so if I got all gold gear and you're like, motherfucker, I just spent 5 hours trying to get, this one, like, I don't know, this epic gear or whatever.
Right.
And you're like, son of a bitch. I'm like, now you're going to be stronger than I am in the next, like, so many levels. And you're right. I mean, it is nice to do that. I mean, yeah, it's also kind of a shitty situation because then you go, son of a bitch. I'm like, am I just not lucky? Like, what is
and that's
this?
where it became an addiction. I mean, you have to just loot, and that's where Diablo 2 just excelled in that, where you could play for hours and still not have the gear that you need, and then it's like the hour and 1 minute you like, I found gear, like like you just
You're like, I finally found something, and you're like,
and then your friend's like, dude, I've been playing for 25 minutes and I have like awesome gear already.
and you're like, you son of a bitch.
GFY, buddy. GFY. Diablo 2. And we've talked a lot about 3 and 4, but Diablo 2 had a secret cow level. Do you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, they have a secret cow level where you could just kill cows.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah,
Just
interesting.
because they just wanted to do that, huh? Okay.
Deckard Cain, and this is again Diablo 2. He's in Diablo 3, and he might be in 4, but he was an old guy, so I don't think he's in 4. But um, he'd always say, "Stay a while and listen." Like he'd always say it like over and over. Every time you talk to him, he's like, "Stay a while," and so it was just became like an iconic phrase.
And then, yeah, see, I didn't know this. This is interesting to me because, Diablo 2 remained actively played for decades after being released.
People are still playing Diablo 3, and that came out 2012.
I mean,
It's on season 38.
holy shit.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So, I mean, they're still actively doing seasons for Diablo. I don't know. You can still buy Diablo 2 on PlayStation. I know it's there.
Really?
I haven't seen the first Diablo, but I know Diablo 2 is there.
Of course, 3 is there.
I have bought 3 because I'm playing it now, and obviously I do have 4. I didn't buy the latest.
Yeah, I didn't. No, I haven't either.
But I think, I mean, to make this claim of a hot take, I don't know if Diablo 2 is Blizzard's greatest game. I would have to say World of Warcraft beats Diablo, but
yeah,
I do think that the style of action RPG that Diablo has is why it put Blizzard more on the map than, because I honestly don't know anybody who plays WoW.
I've only met a couple here and there, and I mean, I'm talking a long time ago. I haven't met too many people now.
I mean, I know they made a joke of it on South Park and everything, but like, I honestly don't know anybody who's sitting around for hours playing World of Warcraft.
I mean, there probably is. I mean, I'm not saying that.
Oh, I'm sure they still have like a ton of, people playing the game. So, I mean, saying Diablo 2 is Blizzard's greatest game, I think it's still World of Warcraft, but it's definitely second.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, with Blizzard and all that, I mean, well, the whole Blizzard the Activision, deal that Microsoft got, from that a little while ago. I mean, that, like I said, you do you, Xbox. That's all I got to say. I mean, at the end of the day, you do whatever. I mean, because if everyone's like, oh well, we're just going to play games on either console, whether it's Xbox or PC, Nintendo, PlayStation, whatever. I mean, at this point, there is no more, like we've talked about. There's no console wars anymore. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what you have at this point, as long as it again is crossplay and things like that. But I mean, going into like why it matters, right? So like Diablo 2, it created the blueprint for what these action RPGs still follow today. The franchise's reputation was built on the foundation established by these first 2 games. And
I do agree with that. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, when you hear, like, it's like knowing like a certain franchise or like a, set of movies or something like that. You're always thinking, okay, like, I would hope that even in living under a rock, you at least hear the name.
yeah,
Like,
and I think it's one of those types of games too. I mean, a lot of people play Doom.
oh yeah,
Which is a first person shooter, and I get it; it's a different type of game. But like, you have these games that like feature hell.
right.
They have demons, and you're fighting demons, and there's evil, and there's all these things. And I think a lot of people, if they've played Diablo or Diablo 2 or even 3, it's not for everybody. And I can understand, I don't really like, games that feature hell, like whatever your belief is, but like it's a huge gaming franchise. I mean, there are 4 games, and I mean, I don't even know how many DLCs Diablo 4 has right now, but
I think there's
they've
only
come
maybe
out with a
couple.
ton.
Oh yeah, when you were saying they're on season 38 of Diablo 3.
Yeah, that Diablo 3.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, we're talking 14 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm seeing there's a Vessel of Hatred that came out for 4. And there's
other one?
Diablo 2, The Reign of the Warlock. That was probably another game,
Yeah,
but
probably.
then they just came out with the Lord of Hatred, but I feel like there were more than just two.
I think no. That sounds about right. I only feel like with Diablo 4. I mean, well, that's the thing though. I mean, if the game's already big enough, I mean, it's not that I wouldn't want to have DLCs like every 2 months, but you also want to make sure that the game is gonna last for as long as you can, and then plus you add those things and think about how big that DLC is as a whole, and so on and so forth. I mean,
Yeah, so there are just the two, which is Vessel of Hatred and then the Lord of Hatred. So
okay, well,
but I mean they just released Lord of Hatred, so
right, and I think the Vessel
April 28th is when
wow.
it came out. So
Well, I mean, even the other one, the Vessel of Hatred, I think that came out like a year or so ago.
2024.
Was it really 2024?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe I'm just behind the times. That's fine. Whatever.
So talking about Diablo 3 and 4. Diablo 3 had a bit of a rocky launch when it started. I actually never played 3 or 4 until recently. But it launched in 2012, and I mean there was pretty big hype. I mean, you have Diablo 2 that released in the year 2000, and now it's like 2012, and you're like, hey, we have Diablo 3. It's kind of like when Dead Island 2.
Oh, yes. I was going to mention that. I really was going to mention that. And you're like, oh, hey, look. You go from, 2016 to, hey, guys, it's 2025. Did you know that we still have this game going?
So, yeah, it launched in 2012, and they're like, there are huge Diablo fans all around the world, and it's like, hey, let's celebrate. We got this game. And then when you turn on the game, you had error 37. Server failures and login issues and all kinds of issues. The game required a constant internet connection. When you played Diablo 2, at the time, I think when I was playing it, I played on dial-up because that was what was available at that time. But you had to have a constant internet connection just to play the game. So a lot of people just couldn't play the game right when it came out at launch. And I mean, it's one of the most infamous launches. I think you can also look at Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, don't get me started on that game. I know, because I did play it when it originally came out, and oh my god, it was one of those ones. I understand now that it's because it's been out for a while and they've fixed all the bugs and stuff, but maybe I should just give it a shot again. But in the beginning, oh my god, it was terrible. It was not something you should have been playing on the console, because they even said that PC was much better at the time. But we digress.
Yes.
But yes.
And one of the things that Blizzard introduced with 3 was a marketplace. If you know that this sounds familiar, it's because every future game after this game has some kind of a marketplace where you could buy and actually sell. This one, actually, you could sell gear using real money. And
even better.
The system fundamentally changed this loot chase, and a lot of players, obviously, in this regard, felt it became easier just to purchase the powerful gear instead of actually finding it in the game. Although you could say it's kind of cheating and it's not fair, right?
Well, I mean, you say that, but then when you start to look at literally every franchise that has come from, we'll call it even from then till even now.
Yeah, I mean,
Call of Duty being one of the biggest ones.
I mean, you couldn't sell gear, but I mean, most things now, you're buying,
skins.
You're buying skins, and you're buying armor, and you're buying weapons and
emojis or whatever.
Right. So, I mean, Blizzard introducing this back in 2012. I mean, you can say what you want, but I mean, it's one of the, and it's not like, you're like, oh, I'm going to sell my gear so that I can make money. No, it was in game. It was like you would sell your gear and then they would give you basically credits to buy more gear. It's not like you could just cash out and be like, dude, I'm rich now.
You're like, oh, that's great.
Didn't work like that. Diablo 3 also had a different art style than the other games. Like, obviously, whenever you have newer games, I would expect Diablo 3 to look radically different than 2 being
I would
12
hope
years
so.
later.
Yeah. And
Um,
again, technology. This is why we're saying, because like when you're looking at 3 to then, I mean, you could probably say this where you probably look at 3 and you look at 4. You're probably going to know a lot more, like visual effects are going to be a lot more, of course, different because I feel like in 4, I mean, let's say if it was raining, like even though you're looking above, like you're actually seeing like the rain, like and how it's moving and all this other stuff. Where I'm not saying 3 wouldn't have done it, but like because you can probably like in this case attest to it. You can at least let me know like because you've seen both, like you've played both, you understand like the dynamics of it. But like let's say weather, like what did that look like in 3 versus like let's say 4?
I don't know if there's if there's really changes in weather like that drastically that really affects it. It's really like how the atmosphere felt between 2 and 3. Like 2 is much darker, and like the horror in the original and in 2 was much higher.
Hmm.
I think it lost a little bit of that like hell, that darkness of hell and the ramifications. But when you look at 3 and you look at 4, I mean the visuals are a lot cleaner. The screen itself is a lot. You can actually like see things, and I think I can appreciate like that. I don't know. You look at 3 and it's like there were some expansions to 3. There's the Reaper of Souls that came out in 2014, and the Rise of the Necromancer. Those were 2 for Diablo 3. Reaper of Souls greatly improved the game. There was a basically a loot 2.0 that made drops much more rewarding. That's when I think the seasonal play really started with Diablo 3. So seasonal play gives you much different loot that's specific for each season. Like I said, right now, like I just started playing it again, and it's like season 38. So there's specific like seasonal loot that you can only get during the season, and then when the season's over, they'll start season 39, and you'll get whole different.
So then I feel like what this, I mean, this literally reminds me of like how Call of Duty has been doing
Right.
a lot of their stuff now. So like this game, talking about it, let's say in like 2014, you weren't seeing that in a lot of games, especially like the seasonal play and like, getting all this stuff. So, I mean, maybe it is a first. Maybe, Diablo was really one of the first to really do all that, but maybe besides WoW, but, because you didn't see seasonal play like this until, honestly, I would say probably, maybe 20, kind of like going into like 2020, or like 2019, maybe, or whatever. I mean, that's where I'm saying like a lot of, well, maybe Fortnite. Now I'm thinking about
Well, I mean, if you look at Blizzard, right? I mean, their actual like business title is Activision Blizzard. Like, you know what I mean? So
Right.
they're a part of Activision, which if you know anything about Activision, they have, I mean, Blizzard is just one of their studios. They have Infinity Ward, they have Treyarch and Sledgehammer Games.
Right, which again, what we're mentioning is a lot of Call of Duty here, but
So you can look at, their subsidiaries of Activision, which all of the even Activision operates under Microsoft Gaming. If you're out there like interested in
wanna
that,
know.
but
Yeah.
but you look at Activision and they have the studios. Infinity Ward makes Call of Duty. Treyarch makes Call of Duty as well. Like,
Hey, look, Sledgehammer Games makes Call of Duty.
right. So even though Blizzard itself does not develop Call of Duty games, you can look at this like seasonal play and go, well, this looks familiar because you've done it in, you know, Call of Duty. You've done it in, I mean, there are several other games that you can be like, oh yeah, there's a season play in this game too. And
I mean, maybe like I said, maybe this would be kind of like one of the first, companies to really do it. That's what I'm saying, because like you didn't really see it until.
I mean, even 4 has their seasons. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm what I'm saying is with Diablo 3 is like this would have been probably one of the very first times that they would have done all this stuff, because
Possible.
you didn't, because again, you didn't really see it in other games at the time, especially around this time. So like it's interesting, like I said, it is interesting that you could do all this too. But
Yeah.
anyways, moving on to 4 here.
Oh yes.
You know,
Number 4.
Number 4. So yes, it arrives, right? It attempted to merge old school Diablo atmosphere with modern gaming systems. Now I will say this: we've talked about the graphics, we've talked about how they want to introduce probably like of course probably all the old classes from 2 and 3, probably not so much from 1, because we all know that clearly it was lame when it comes to the classes wise, but the darker, it kind of basically had a darker art style, felt closer to Diablo 2. Blizzard introduced an open world bosses, events, mounts, and seasonal content. So again, similar to 3, but just, a little bit more. Yeah, when we say like you go in there and it's really open world, like you go in there and
It's
you have
really open world.
like
Yeah.
you don't have a fucking clue of what to do, because there is no like.
No, you can run
hey,
around for 55 minutes and then you're like, oh, this is the guy I have to talk to. Where Diablo 3, like the people that you actually had to talk to advance the mission had these giant
like bing,
like
bing, bing.
exclamation points above their head. Like it was yellow, it was huge. And you could see where you needed to talk to. There were even arrows that pointed you in the direction that you needed to go into.
Right.
And
4 really, it was more like,
no, you're out in the open world and you're like, I don't know who the fuck I'm talking
Well,
to, but I'm in the middle of a fucking desert.
and basically you really had to rely on your map,
Yeah.
because it's not like you had I think it like you have a little tiny map, but it like a very like circle, just like in most games.
Yeah.
And you really didn't know. You're like, is this the right direction? Ah, shit, I went the other way. Yeah, so you could spend, like we said, like hours just trying to figure out where the fuck am I going, and what town do I need to be in, and what is this? And there's no like we've said, there's no clear path. There's no like, hey idiot, you need to go this way. Bing, bing, bing. Like nothing.
I left you a note in the notes, John.
I see that. The Jamat. I was about to call you Jamat, but
Jamat.
Jamat. Anyways, let's move forward. So seasons.
Yes, this is where we were talking already. Like,
Oh yeah, I see this now.
this is specifically in 4. It was a little bit in 3 too, and I can see where this is like, what? Because in these games, when there's a new season, you have to start a new character to participate in the new content. And where some people are like, oh, that's cool, there's a brand new season, I'll just start a new character. You have players that are probably like more like me and you going, what the hell? Like, I have a level 30 character and you're telling me now I have to restart and do a whole new character just because there's new loot?
Who gives a shit about that?
Yeah.
And then, of course, with the community, it remains divided on whether seasons improve or they hurt the experience. I feel like they're going to hurt the experience because, there's no, it shouldn't matter where you start.
I kind of like, it's like plausible deniability. It's like, if you don't start this, if you don't start a new character, you don't really know what you're missing.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because
So
you
it's
already
like,
know the grind. You already know
Yeah.
the struggle.
it's just, you don't really know what you're missing. So if you just don't start, I mean, you can just start a new character and keep your original, and you can start, even this, pick the same character, just start it with I don't know, whatever. I don't care. But certain facts I've already talked about the Era 37. I'm not
Well-
going to go back in that, but Diablo 3 sold over 3.5 million copies within the first 24 hours.
Okay. Well, and this is interesting that the fact that Diablo 4 earned over 606. That is very
That
weird.
no, I
That is a
don't.
very weird
I
number.
don't
to
like
do.
that.
So this is what it's saying. Diablo 4 earned over $666 million within its first 5 days.
I don't like that.
I don't like that either. It's too.
I don't like
It's
it.
too very specific,
Nope.
Mike. And that is interesting enough where both these games have definitely been well successful and things like that, but you know sure, you know what, and you can
And they've made a
about this,
shit ton of money with the new. I mean, the new content and
well,
you know.
right, and like talking about like Diablo 3 here for a second, like sure, in the sense of this, like where Reaper of Souls, it saved Diablo 3. I know you can talk a little bit more about that, but Diablo 4, sure, it kind of looks more like Diablo than it should than Diablo 3 ever did. So I mean,
I like 3 to be honest, but
I know you.
it just you know you look at, and I think Diablo 4, you can definitely see like the marketplace because I mean they have a complete marketplace on there where you can buy skins and all kinds of other shit. But I think you look at the modern era of Diablo, and it just reflects how gaming has changed. I mean, Diablo 4 is almost completely, you can play offline, but like it's completely online. It's a live service. And I'm going to go into the next pillar because we just have to move on. But
Yeah.
when you're playing Diablo 1, or at least 2, not 1. When you're playing Diablo 2, you had to go onto battle.net. This is like where you traded, you group chatted. It was basically before Discord. It was Discord before Discord.
There you go. I like that.
And when you went on to Diablo, you had to connect to Battle.net if you wanted to play online. And this is where Diablo 2 was sort of like this early version of what Dead Island initially was and what Borderlands initially was. You were in a public game.
Yep.
Your game was public. Anybody at any point in time could pop into your game, and they might be helpful. They may not be helpful.
Hey man, it sounds like a lot of the games you've been playing lately.
And I'm playing on PC, and again, I'm going to move through this really quickly because what became a fun game to play when you connected to Battle.net to play Diablo 2, all of a sudden these modded players would appear in your game. And I actually did this for a little bit and it was boring as fuck, but you could go in and like there was a separate application that you would start and you could mod all of your stats. You could create, you can put on custom armor for your character. And all of these things were beyond, when I say beyond maxed out, they were all 9s. Like 9 million 9s. Your health,
Oh, lovely.
your strength, your intelligence, like every stat, every, your helm, your weapons, everything. They could come in and look at you and you would be a splat on the ground and they would take all your loot, sell it. And then in Diablo 2, when you died, you would drop an ear. The ear would tell them like who killed you, the time you died, your name and everything. Like it basically would have your like some stats. And people would, they had thousands of ears because they would just keep going into people's games and just killing them and then ditching. And you had it as a slot in your loot. And it was I think Diablo 2 just had that savage game mechanic built into it where that's when I stopped playing. It's because you just couldn't play because somebody would just pop in, hit you one time, and you would die. And then they would take your gear, and then you would respawn with nothing because you dropped all of your gear. And if you managed to get back to the place that you died, they were still fucking waiting there.
Waiting for you to come back.
And it was like, oh, I probably have died like a million times in that game where I finally was like, you know what, this is enough. And I modded my character just so I could play the damn game.
So it's interesting, Matt. It sounds like, your hatred for, Call of Duty really stemmed from Diablo.
It probably
It-
could
it
because, I
prob-
mean, I had this match when I was playing. I had my modded character.
Yeah.
Everything was like beyond maxed out. And this other guy joined. And literally, I think for about 20 minutes, we were hacking at each other. None of us died. Almost a half an hour. We're doing every single move that we have, and we're not even getting close to taking down our hit points at all. Ever. I think I just ended up leaving the game. I'm like, this is stupid. No. Let's play something else.
Just saying. I mean,
It was just-
it really feels like, your hatred for modern gaming really kind of stemmed from this.
It probably does. It probably I have a little PTSD for gaming.
Here we
and,
go. He's like, I
from,
gotta hit.
from Diablo. It stemmed from there.
He's like, I got a disability, guys. He's like, PTSD from Diablo. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a real thing now.
But I'm glad that it stopped with Diablo 2 because Diablo 3 did have a PvP, but it was radically different. But when I think you look at the legacy of Diablo, it really is like, this is more of a hot take, I think, calling it the king of action RPGs, but it's just one of those franchises like that took what the action RPGs were at the time. And it said, we're going to make this formula better. I mean, you can also look at Gauntlet. Gauntlet's another one of these action RPGs. It's honestly, it's not as good as Diablo is. It's different. I mean, the story is obviously different. You still have your same classes. It's still that overhead style. But when you can play, say, a half an hour of Diablo and then go in the next day and play another half an hour, and you could go into the same dungeon and have it be a different experience. I think that's cool to me. It's a cool experience. And now with 4, I do agree a little bit. Like, it sucks a little bit having to run around and try to find your way.
You know the way.
I don't know the way.
Not the right way.
It's different. I mean, I kind of want to ask these questions. I know you haven't played all of the Diablo games. To me, the best one is 3. And I do think like the sorceress mage classes, like 3 has wizard, and I don't remember quite what's in 4 as far as classes. But
Yeah, you'll have to, kind of look that one up. But before I even answer it, the one thing I was going to mention,
the sorcerer is still there,
the one
and the warlock too, by the way.
Yeah, the one I was going to mention really quick was, I love how there's all these games like the Path of Exile, Torchlight, your Grim Dawn, Last Epic, or Epoch, or depending on how you want to pronounce it. How Diablo created like competitors, in the sense of that, like it created a community of, hey, you know what? Fuck this. We're gonna, like, so for example, like Torchlight, developed by former Diablo creators.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that there are games that don't create that competition, but like, if you have games that are literally trying to compete,
Yeah.
and especially like that, I mean, that tells me a lot about a franchise, because that says, okay, well,
And a lot of
You
them are
need to-
not as successful.
oh no,
as
clearly,
Diablo.
I've never
Yeah.
actually, honestly, all 3 or 4 of these, I've never heard of
Right.
before.
So I mean, you're really taking like this Diablo style of gaming, and it's really unique. It's really special. It just I think it's like influential and when we're talking about Diablo, it is one of those influential gaming franchises that has ever been created. I mean, there's nothing quite like it.
So I mean, I think kind of going into the the debate. So sure, I when it says best Diablo game, you're right. I couldn't tell you, but the best class. I mean, I've only played a couple of classes, or at least one of them. It was the one that I think it was the druid one. It was the one that you could change into like that werebear or the care
Yeah.
bear, thing.
The druid was in 2 and 4.
Yeah, so I think it was
Yeah.
that one that I did play as. That was the one because you
Necromancer is not bad. Like the Necromancer has been in 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we never. So I was going to say when you and I were playing, I don't remember playing any boss. I can tell you that right now, or at least from
no, I don't.
At least
I
when we
don't
were playing
remember, yeah.
4. Best expansion. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't played. Like I haven't played any of the expansions, at least in 4. But most memorable, I guess, just getting lost with you in the fucking woods because we had no fucking idea where
Yeah.
we're going. Greatest piece of loot ever found.
Yeah, I don't know any of the greatest loots, but
Neither do I. But I mean, I guess right here, right? So Diablo remains one of the most influential gaming franchises ever created. I mean, so if okay, let me ask you this question then. If you were to rate, like if you were saying like, hey, top, we'll call it maybe 100, video games or even video game franchises, where do you think Diablo would rate?
top 100. I mean,
Because I mean,
it definitely would be top 50 at least.
Okay, so you think top 50? Okay, so I mean, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be. I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think it would be in the top 50. I mean, do I see it as one of it's definitely not the most influential of all time, but I mean, because we've talked about other games and they've definitely changed on a certain level. Like they created things that nobody would have thought of before. Now, don't get me wrong, this definitely has some influence and reputation and respect and all this other stuff. Like I agree that it's somewhere in that 50 range.
According to the Google AI.
Oh, Google AI, not ChatGPT.
It says Diablo franchise is generally considered a top 40 gaming franchise worldwide.
Really?
Diablo has sold over 30 million units, putting it near the number 30 spot alongside Tomb Raider and Borderlands on all-time bestseller lists.
Interesting. I love how Borderlands is a part of this conversation too. Of course, Matt's like, "Hey, one of my favorite games of all time." Just so you know. I mean, so it says right here, the franchise has sold 10 millions of copies. Yeah, right. I was like, it's got to be more than that. We've already talked about that, but I will say, real quick. Let's see. I like this. Diablo's greatest enemy isn't Path of Exile, it's nostalgia. So, and I feel like in a lot of games where you're trying to recreate that like masterpiece or like games or movies or whatever, TV shows, it's true because if you base it solely on the fact that, oh, but Diablo was such a great game when it came out, and then you're like trying to recreate that same experience in a newer game. So for example, right? This one it's kind of like the opposite of it, but I was playing Double O. It was the new James Bond game that just came out. Now a lot of people are like, oh, I've heard of it. Now, I mean, sure, if you're going to compare it to GoldenEye, no, I mean it GoldenEye was on a different level because it had its own thing. It was with Pierce Brosnan, whatever, right? So you'd have all that piece to it. This one is unique because, sure, it's recreating a different version of James Bond's and things like that, but it's different because it's like when he becomes James Bond and he's starting out as like how he would be. So there's a difference between something like that and like how we're looking at Diablo here. And sure, like nostalgia is great, but like is that really what you're going to solely base your game off of? Or like
No, and they,
doing all
I
that?
mean, they clearly didn't just base it. I mean, I think there's a little bit of nostalgia, when you bring back a character,
No, and I mean,
and
like that's what I'm saying.
like Deckard Cain being in, pretty much like the first three, and you bring back characters, and you're like, oh, dude, I remember this guy. Like,
No, I mean,
it's nostalgic in that fact, but I think like each Diablo game has improved in the style that you're playing, the like loot that you get, like just it.
well, you even just said that Diablo 3 is in some ways better than 4 because yeah, I mean, there's things about it that you wish that you would have had in 4. Like for example, knowing where the fuck you're going would be one to start with.
Right, but I mean, you also don't have like an open world to explore. Like you have your basic map in
Yeah.
3, and where you can play online. Like it's easier to play online with 4, and you can do more in 4 than you can in 3. So yeah, I mean, it's different in some ways, and then you look at the actual style of gameplay, and it's exactly the same, just updated. I don't know, it's different. I like playing 3 only because I like to know where I'm going and what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, well, no, think about it. Every open world game you and I've ever played, it does have missions and it does tell you where to go and at least have an general idea of where to go. And sure, you can still like go in the world and like do other things and do.
But it's
and whatever.
finding those missions. In
Well,
Diablo 4, that is the complicated thing.
No, and I agree with you. That's why I'm saying like that's the only downside. Like if you actually had something to say, "Hey, idiot! There's the guy with the exclamation point. Like, go figure him out, and go over here and do whatever." Instead of heavily relying on your map all the time, where you're like, hold on a second, hold on, just protect me while I'm looking at my map, because God forbid there's any like skeleton crew
Yeah.
that comes up by and do.
Hold on, I gotta switch out my gear for a minute. Like, yeah.
Oh, hey, by the way, you just lost your ear.
Son of a bitch.
No, but I mean that's what I'm saying. Like you shouldn't have to worry about all that too at the same time.
It's just part of the game.
Yeah, I get it, but
Yeah.
whether players love or hate modern, Diablo, the franchise helped shaped, an entire genre of and continues to still influence game design decades later. Which, I mean, like I said, I mean, and I will say about this game in general is like if you do like the downward look approach, because like
It's almost not like real. It's not like Gauntlet was like straight up top down. And I think when you look at Diablo, like the camera's
like
not
a
quite.
little
It
tilted.
has a little tilt to it, so you're kind of like with that,
Yeah,
with
that
that
weird
kind of view.
angle, like right, because you're not quite looking down,
It's
but
slightly angled, but it's still. I mean, you're still looking above the character, not like not third person or first person.
I mean, and that's the thing where maybe like maybe it's just because like when I play like old school PC games, so I'm thinking of like Age of Mythology or Age of Empire or Command and Conquer Generals, they were always down. Like you're always looking from the like up above and you're
Yeah.
or, and doing all that. But for me, in that sense, like that was different because now that was just kind of like the 90s and or maybe earlier 2000s a little bit, but it was a little bit different, but for me, like looking at a game, at least on a console, and if I'm looking down or somewhat tilted, I should say, it's maybe just for me, like because I've been so used to playing the first or third person, like you would think, oh, hey, I gotta do my not saying hack and slash, but like something like different moves or different whatever. It's just again, I feel like it depends on the person. Like if you like, hey, that's what I want to do, great. If not, well, I mean, then you're right. Diablo's not really for you because maybe you don't like the fact that it's all a lot of it's based on hell, or there's demons and there's skeletons and there's whatever the hell you're talking about. But you know, at this point, right with Diablo, you know, Diablo used to feel like anything could happen, right? You could lose everything, you get wrecked or end up at someone's as someone's ear in their inventory. I love that. But now it's cleaner, it's smoother, and way more controlled, right? So what do you want? Do you want chaos or do you want control? And that's the real question.
Can we just have both?
I feel like you need to have a little bit of maybe that little bit of both. Maybe not so much of this and that. But anyways, boys and girls, we've been talking so much about Diablo, so stay tuned for next week and stay geeky.